Tony Lamont presents Living by Design with host Kathy Holloway Hill. Kathy is a strong, powerful voice. She entertains, informs, and inspires her audiences everywhere she goes.
I'm Kathy Holloway Hill, and welcome to another empowering episode of Living by Design. I am here at Empowered Living, and the premise of Empowered Living is to have a holistic approach to being a better you. And I have here with me Althena Salisbury and Renata Dalton. Welcome to Living by Design, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
We are so thrilled to have you because our topic today is something that I have been wanting to talk about for a very long time. And that is not just the topic of mental health in the Black community, but just mental health period as a whole for everyone. And I just say the Black community because it just seems like it's taboo in the Black community. That, you know, we don't want to talk about it, and it's something that we want to keep hidden, and we don't want to admit that there may be some mental illness or mental disorders or whatever word you want to put on it, because it's not a good thing. So before we dig into the actual problems or some of the mental concerns that we may have, let's just talk a little bit about empowered living. I love that word. I love that name that you put on that, empowered living.
Okay.
So how long has empowered living been in existence?
Well, it was established July 7th, 2010 by Renata and another partner of hers named Jerian. And they decided to start the practice because they knew they couldn't do exactly what they wanted to do and work for someone else. So that birthed the baby of empowered living.
I like that. I like that. So Athena, are you actually a therapist?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so Renata, I know that you are.
I am a therapist.
Okay, so let's just kind of jump in here because this is a topic that really, in my opinion, should have a part two. There are so many things that people feel that they don't associate with a mental disorder. Now, I'm not sure why that is, but I've heard people say, well, you know, I'm just moody, or, you know, I'm just having a bad day. Well, that person has 365 bad days out of the year, so something may be going on. Renata, can you tell us what are some of the common things to look for in my opinion, this is my opinion,
Okay.
the most common mental disorder, which is depression and anxiety? What are some of the common things to look for to make you think maybe this is more than just a bad day, a bad week, a bad month, a bad year? Maybe I have a little depression or anxiety.
So it's going to look different for every person. Commonly, you see a lot of wanting to isolate, not wanting to be around others, having difficulty getting out of bed, not wanting to talk to anybody. Pretty much, it's almost consumed your life and you're not able to fully function. But in a child, depression manifests as an anger. So it's going to look totally different in a child than it would in an adult.
So you're telling me that children can be depressed?
Yes, children can be depressed.
Wow.
Even there are studies that show that even babies, obviously they don't have words to express how they feel, but even babies that have been exposed to domestic violence or what have you, they will mimic behaviors that indicate that there is something wrong. So a baby that may be in a household that's violent may cry a lot or things like that. So it goes across the gamut.
Well, let's go back to the adults. So let's say you're an adult that is manifesting some of these behaviors. So you mentioned not wanting to get out of bed, and just kind of pushing yourself through the day, and maybe feelings of sadness. What about anger? Is that one that...
Anger can be one of it. So again, there are some theories that say anger is a secondary emotion. So in other words, there is something behind the anger. So I might be angry with you, but it might be because I'm embarrassed or my feelings are hurt or something like that. So typically when I'm working with clients and anger is something that tends to manifest, I work with them a lot on, well, what's behind the anger? Like, yes, that's what we see, but what's really going on?
Okay. So with those two, and this is just, again, my opinion, I don't want anybody out there to think I'm trying to be a therapist, because I'm not. But what do you say, or what would you classify as classic symptoms of depression?
Well, for some, it could be suicidal ideation. You may act on it, or you might just have the thoughts. For some, like I said, isolation is a big thing. Some people, they just don't eat. They may overeat. There's a lot of emotional eating. It's kind of hard to say because I've seen so many different things. I mean, obviously the DSM has a set guideline of certain criteria that you have to meet. So there are ways to go in and do that. There are a ton of surveys that people can take and things like that. But I think you typically know when something's not right, typically. And for some people, it's like you said, they may have it for years and just may not have always considered it depression. They may have just said, I just have a lot of sad days.
Yes, yes. At what point, in your professional opinion, since you are a therapist and this is what you do for a living, at what point do you think it's time to come and talk to somebody?
As soon as possible. Even as a therapist, I've experienced depression before. So for me, I knew things were out of character because I was wanting to not be around people as much as I wanted to. When I was going through my divorce, I felt like I went through depression, which makes sense.
Yes.
Through something major. So caused me to kind of want to isolate and things like that. But I recognized I was doing things that were hindering my life. So I was like, okay, you need to stop and go seek help.
Yeah.
So even though I'm a therapist, we all struggle with different things. It just looks different for everyone. And sometimes we don't attach the right name. We don't call it what it is. So I have a family member that's like, I'm a nervous person. Well, that's anxiety. Let's call it what it is. Or, they just never want to leave the house. Okay, that might be depression, or that might be agoraphobia. It could be a number of things. So I think it's important to kind of, when it's hindering your life, I think that's a big sign that, okay, I might need to go get some help.
I like that. I really like that. When it's hindering your life, when it is causing you, if it's a roadblock for you to function in life or do your job, or you're angry at people for no reason, or, things you can't explain.
Right. So, for example, I had a client that came to see me in their pajamas. So we had the conversation of, okay, you're not going to keep doing this. So tell them you need to get dressed. So, and sometimes I do tell clients, just sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. So they went from coming to see me in pajamas to coming in stilettos and dressing up. But this is someone that when they look great, they feel so much better. And I knew that about them, which is common for most people. So we had the rule, you cannot come to therapy in pajamas.
Wow.
Like, you have to come to therapy at least in some pants.
Incredible. Ladies, we have so much to talk about. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back with more of this empowering topic. Welcome back to Living by Design. We are still here with Renata and Athena, and we are having a great discussion. And so, Athena, let me just ask you. So you have a teenage daughter, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, just from a personal perspective, do you notice that she goes through different mood swings or PMS, for God's sake? I really hate to say that, but those types of things. Do you feel like as a parent that you can tell the difference in that versus if it's something a little stronger and deeper that may be going on?
Yes. I pride myself in knowing my child as much as I possibly can, because you can't totally 100% know your child because they keep things from you.
Right.
But for her, she definitely changes her mood. So she's always like, I want to go, 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 go. And then once she gets into what I call a small depressive state, she'll want to stay home and not want to do anything and literally stay in her pajamas all day. And she's had times in her life where traumatic things have happened around her, and so I noticed during those time periods she would literally shut down. And so for her, that's her coping mechanism, but I have to try to keep her from getting too deep into the depression feeling. And so that's why when she gets like that, I usually try to do something else, or we'll go do some mommy-daughter bonding, or we'll do something together to make sure she doesn't fall deep into that depressive state.
And I like that. And that's the reason I wanted to ask you that question, is because I knew you had mentioned off camera that you had a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very important that not just parents, but any guardian, grandparent, you know, if you're in the presence of not just a child or a teenager, but any family member, if you're in their presence and you're recognizing certain behaviors that are typically not normal, they're kind of, you know, off the scales a little bit, I think it's very important for you to intervene. I mean, wouldn't you say?
I agree. I agree. And even with teenagers, one thing that I always say is there are scientific studies that say that your brain doesn't stop developing until like 25 and 27.
Wow.
So there are scientists that are saying kids are crazy. Like, it's not. it's studies behind it that say it. And so, but I think, again, it goes on kind of knowing your child, kind of knowing their temperament and things like that.
Yes.
Noticing what's out of the norm for them. If they're an extroverted kid and then all of a sudden they're acting very introvert.
Yes.
Kind of looking at that. But then also not jumping to conclusions that it's the worst thing in the world. Because sometimes it's just we all have a bad day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if it's
or they
several
could be sick and no feel
right.
good. Yeah.
So if it's several bad days and over, an extended amount of time, then I think be very mindful of that and watch that and just kind of listen to what they're saying and things like that. Because I think sometimes we don't give our youth as much credit for how they express themselves as we should.
Right. And if you're noticing, and I just happen to be one of those people who watches some of the TV shows that come on like Snap, there's a lot of those. But it's so many true stories that I don't think anybody ever needs to do a fiction movie. It's from so many true stories. But if you're noticing behaviors that just seem like the person not is only possibly suicidal, but maybe homicidal, then you got to speak up. I mean, don't be in denial. Don't be in denial, because your denial may be the death of someone else further down the road. So that's why I think it's very important to be aware of not just your own behaviors, but the behaviors of your family members, so that you can help them get the assistance that they need.
But there's a big stigma with mental health.
It really is. And that's why we're having this show today, because I want people to understand that there is nothing wrong with it. It's a great thing. You mentioned when we were talking off camera, we take medication for diabetes, for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, or whatever our issues are. We take medication for that.
And I get it. Medication is not always the answer, but I think
we go to the doctor for that.
Right. So I think it's important to see what your options are.
Yes.
And make an informed decision. Medication may work. For some people, you just have a chemical imbalance. You need to get back on track.
Yes.
For some people, working out actually does a lot for a lot of mental health illnesses. Because working out gets a lot of those endorphins and all those things moving and pumping, and that helps out a lot.
That's right. Amen. Now, what are those, I think it's 4 or 5 main chemicals in the brain? I know serotonin, dopamine, GABA.
I don't remember all of those.
Epinephrine, and I forget what the other one. But I know those are the main ones that keep us going.
Right.
Some are the happy, chemicals, and then some are the relaxing chemicals. But there may just be a little bit of an imbalance.
Right.
And if there's a little bit of an imbalance, you've got to talk to a professional like you to determine what that is. I don't see anything wrong with that. If you got a stomach ache, you go to the doctor to find out what's going on. Your blood pressure's high, you got to go to the doctor. Maybe you get medication, maybe you change it with your diet. And same thing with this.
Right. That's one thing I can say about empowered living is we try to meet people where they are, so we may not have where you come in and sit and talk on the couch. We have so many workshops we do periodically during the year. So if a topic sounds good to you, you may come and find your healing in that topic. For example, like Renata teaches a cleaning out my closet workshop, which is dealing all with cleaning out emotional baggage. It could be from a relationship, it can be from your childhood, it can be from anything. And basically recognizing when you're having something you're holding on to and it's carrying from every phase of your life, how to start to recognize those things and get rid of them. So for me, that was something that was healing and cleansing for me, that technically going to a therapist, going to her workshop, help me to where I don't need medication to help solve that particular issue in my life. So that's one thing that I do love about our practice, is that we literally find you where you are. And if you hear a topic, you're like, I need to get my finances together.
Yes.
We have a financial workshop,
yes.
which a lot of people, when they get their finances together, that helps everything else in their life and helps to curb the depression, helps to curb some anxiety, helps to curb some things. So that's one thing I do love about this.
We do a play.
Oh yeah, I forgot about it. How did I forget about the vagina
I don't know
monologues?
how you forgot about that.
Now, see, I really, really like that, because you really hit the nail on the head with that statement. Because me being a life coach, I've seen a lot of past emotional baggage that still lives in your subconscious. And if that still is in your subconscious, it's going to work its way into your conscious mind, and it's going to affect your behaviors. So I 100,000,000% agree with that statement. You've got to be able to work through that. So if you've got something in your past that you're still holding on to and you haven't let it go yet, then this is where you need to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty powerful.
We're going to come up with the next date for that workshop, but we try to do it at least twice a year because it is so powerful. It helped me through a relationship I was going through. The first time, I didn't handle that breakup as good as I should have.
Yes.
And I didn't do anything violently, but I knew emotionally I was a wreck. But then when I took the workshop, not saying that it solves everything, but when I took the workshop and then I went through another breakup, that breakup was a lot different than the
Yes,
first one.
exactly.
And so because I could recognize,
Yes.
okay, you have,
Right.
first of all, you carried something from that relationship I didn't realize I carried from that relationship, and it manifested in the second relationship, which could have helped the demise of that relationship.
Right.
But because I could recognize, okay, you're still holding on to this, you need to
Right.
let that go.
And we're going to revisit that, because that's we're going to take another quick break, and we're going to be right back with more of this discussion. Welcome back to Living by Design. We are having a very powerful conversation here about emotional and mental, and now we're talking about some things that you may be dealing with from your past, which is huge, because I think you really hit on something right there, because so many people that I've spoken to still live in the past. And they're living in the past because they don't understand how to let go of the past, and it's holding them back. It's their roadblock, it's their obstacles from allowing them to move forward into the future. They can't be future focused, they can't be forward thinking, because they're so busy. They done moved to Pity City and unpacked their bag. So what type of services do you have, Renata, that would speak to that?
So we offer individual, family, and couples therapy. We have 5 therapists on staff. We just hired some new people, so I think I counted everybody.
Yes.
And so all of us have a different variety of specialties. So as a company, we have areas of grief and loss. We have transitioning different parts of life. So like if you're an empty nester, if you're going through a divorce, if you are divorced, I switched careers. I want to prepare for that. So just kind of different phases of life. We have someone that focuses on people on the autism spectrum. We have, I specialize in, well, we have quite a few that specialize in trauma, and then I specialize in sex therapy. So we try to hit different topics, different areas.
Okay.
We start at age 5 and up.
Excellent.
And we also do, like she said earlier, we do workshops, and we partner with other organizations. So if we're not a good fit for you, because we don't think we are a great fit for everybody, we have different partners that we can refer you to.
I love that. I really like that. I do a lot of work with youth, And I noticed that, it like I know you said a few minutes ago, your brain is still developing up until age 20.
Between 25 and 27.
So a lot of the teens that I deal with, they just think, oh, the world is terrible. They're not accepted, and they don't have self-esteem, and they don't look right, and the media just makes them feel like they're just nothing because they don't look like these skinny models with blonde hair and blue eyes. And so they have all of these issues. So what type of therapy could you offer them? Because I believe that something like this would help them a lot, because I see them struggle a lot.
And so for us, it's obviously client-centered. So when you come in the room, we establish rapport, we fill out paperwork initially, and then I let you, whoever the therapist is, you tell them the situation, what's going on, and then we base our treatment plan based on that client. So there are a ton of different theories out there, and some work great with some clients, some not so well with others.
Right.
So it's just really sitting down and getting to know the client just to kind of figure out what's going to be the best treatment plan for you. We don't necessarily think that you have to be in therapy for the rest of your life. We have a lot of clients that they come, do their work, and then they leave and come back for maintenance, is what we like to call it.
Yes.
So it really just all depends. But like I said, we do youth. We actually have a Girl Scout troop, so we have
Wow.
we do
Awesome.
that. So I mean, for us, we try to just whatever is needed.
Yes.
Because for some people, therapy may not be it. They may need just a life
Right.
coach, or they may need a mentor, or just to be participating in a workshop or something like that.
And I like that you do workshops. And I also, again, I said earlier, and I'm going to say it again because I think it bears repeating, I love your name, Empowered Living, because that's what this is. It's helping to empower you to be the best you that you could be. And the only way to do that is to remove the roadblocks, remove the obstacles, and dig to the core of what is going on with you. There are some great things going on with you, but maybe there's some not so great things going on with you. And that's okay. That's okay. I mean, that's what life is all about. We all get faced with, I know, Lord knows I have had my share of obstacles and my share of sadness and emotional distress and all those things, because we all deal with it. We're human. You keep living long enough, you'll deal with it. So I love the empowered living, because you empower people, like you said, right where they are. Yeah, that's good stuff.
That's definitely our ultimate goal. We know that you're going to keep growing and learning until the day you leave this earth. So you should live your best life. And there's nothing better than living your best life and enjoying life, because you only get one.
Yes.
You only get one try at this. So
Yes.
why not live empowered and live free from all the things that are holding you back?
That's right. Now, how would one get started to work with one of your therapists? How would they begin that process?
Well, you can call me anytime. No, not anytime. But our phone number is 317-969-5694. Our website is www.empoweredlivinginc.net. Our email is just info@empoweredlivinginc.net. And even if you go on Google, you can just type in Empowered Living Inc. and we come up immediately. So
Yes.
that's a good thing. So if you love to Google us and it'll come up. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn,
Excellent.
Twitter. So we're everywhere. So we're
Under that same name?
under Empowered Living Inc. Yes.
Yes.
And our orange logo is pretty bright, and as soon as you see that orange logo, you know you reached us.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I know when I did a Google search, I saw that. I was like, look at that baby. I love it.
I try to make sure it pops up everywhere. So.
And it's beautiful, because to me, orange just signifies, vibrancy, and that's what everybody wants in their life. They want to be vibrant. They want to feel alive.
Yes.
They want to have happiness. We want to have joy and peace. And there is nothing wrong with admitting that that's not there. So
Yeah, because you only get one chance. So
yes.
gotta live it.
So they would call you, and they would make an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would you determine which therapist is the best, depending on what they're
Sometimes, yes. I'll look at, I have a questionnaire I'll go through.
Okay.
And through that questionnaire, if something they say like rings a bell that it would be perfect for Renata, for instance, then I'll let them know that they'll get a phone call within a certain period of time from the therapist that I feel will be a good fit. And then that therapist will call and talk to them for a brief moment and set up the appointment and go from there. But usually, yes. It's
Okay.
a quick little questionnaire I do with them.
Now, do you guys take insurance?
We don't at the moment, but we do offer free and subsidized therapy if that's something that you need.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's how we do fundraisers during the year. So anytime you can see a
Yes.
fundraiser, please support. That way we can start to offer our services to more people for free or subsidized, depending on. But we
Yes.
work on a sliding scale too. So
I love that. That's awesome. You ladies have been incredible, magnificent, exactly what our community needs, because there are so many people who have so much goodness inside, but they don't know how to bring it out. So you have just really provided so many golden nuggets of information for our viewers, and they're just gonna really love this. And I love you both.
we appreciate you so much for letting us come on.
Yes. We thank you for joining us for this empowering episode of Living by Design, and we hope you join us next week for another empowering episode. Good night.